Welcome back to the podcast.
We have a great show for you today.
Have you ever sent a slightly weird text message? You totally know the feeling. You press send and then you just sit there.
Oh, just staring at the screen.
Yes, you stare at the screen. Nothing happens. You wait, the 3 little dots appear, and then they disappear. Still nothing. And suddenly your whole emotional system starts holding this massive emergency meeting.
An emergency meeting. That is exactly what it feels like.
Right? You replay that one simple message in your head for, 3 whole business days. Have you ever felt that? Have you ever had your whole day ruined by one missing reply? Yeah, me too. It makes you wonder, why do we let 3 little dots on a screen dictate our entire sense of value? Welcome to the debate.
That is such a real feeling. 3 business days is a very specific amount of time, but I have absolutely lived it.
We all have. Today, we are tackling how we build our self-worth. We are looking at how easily we build our sense of value in the wrong places. The central question for our discussion today is this: is self-worth something we can build entirely on the inside, completely independent of other people? Or are humans biologically and socially wired to depend on outside approval?
It is a huge question.
It really is. I will be arguing that true self-worth is a deeply internal job. It is the deliberate choice to believe you matter, even when absolutely nobody is clapping for you. Relying on outside approval is just, it is like using emotional Wi-Fi. It feels nice, but eventually the signal always drops.
And I'd come at this from a very different angle. While having perfect internal steadiness is a beautiful idea, it ignores our reality. Our nervous systems and our social environments make us fundamentally dependent on external approval. Disregarding what other people think is not just difficult, it is biologically impossible. We need others to survive.
I see why you think that, but let us look closer at how it actually works. Let us go back to that text message story. Why does one missing text completely ruin our day? I argue it is because we are using other people's reactions to manage our own feelings. We connect to their emotional Wi-Fi.
Right, the Wi-Fi metaphor.
Exactly. If they smile, we feel good. If they do not reply, we crash.
But we crash for a very good reason. Needing approval is, deeply human. Think about how the human brain evolved thousands of years ago. If you were not accepted by your group, you were pushed out into the cold.
Well, sure, historically.
You would literally starve. Social rejection meant physical death. So today, when someone does not text you back or someone looks at you with a frown, your brain does not just say, "Oh, that is rude." Your brain has a tiny alarm bell that rings and says, "We are in danger."
So you are saying it is an ancient survival instinct?
Exactly. When people smile at you or when they choose you, your nervous system finally relaxes. Your brain goes, "Ah, lovely, we are safe now." Approval feels like relief. If you are doubting yourself, approval does not just feel nice, it feels like oxygen.
It feels like oxygen in the moment, I will give you that. But it is only short-term comfort. And this is exactly how the trap works. If you depend on a warm reply or a friendly smile to feel safe, you are giving away all your power.
Do you really think it is giving away power, though?
Absolutely. One weak signal, one slightly cold look from a friend, and suddenly your whole system fails. You suffer, your confidence suffers, and your day is ruined. It is addictive because it gives you quick relief, but it does not teach you how to calm yourself down. You are just waiting for validation.
Wait, that is a fancy word, validation. It basically just means getting a yes or a smile from someone proving that you are acceptable.
Yes, perfectly said. Waiting for that outside yes keeps you trapped. Because what happens when the yes does not come? You fall apart. And this brings up a huge misunderstanding. People think that if they just get enough praise, they will finally have self-worth, but they are confusing confidence with self-worth.
They do sound very similar, to be fair. What is the difference in your mind?
They operate completely differently. Confidence is about your skills. Confidence asks, can I do this? Can I speak well in front of a crowd? Can I handle this big project at work? Can I walk into a party and tell a funny story?
which honestly is a very ambitious goal some days.
Truly. But self-worth is entirely different. Self-worth asks, if I fail at all of those things, am I still a valuable person? Self-worth is much less shiny than confidence. You can look completely confident on the outside. You can dress perfectly, you can speak clearly, you can do your job perfectly. But inside, you are terrified of making a mistake. It is like trying to look emotionally moisturized while drying out inside.
Ha, emotionally moisturized. I love that.
Confidence without self-worth is like painting over a crumbling foundation. The house looks beautiful from the street, but the moment a storm hits, you are terrified the walls are going to cave in.
That is a very powerful image. The beautiful house with the crumbling foundation. But I have to push back hard here. You talk about self-worth like it can easily be separated from the real world. You say, if I fail, am I still valuable? But let us talk about the actual consequences of failing. Let us talk about economic instability.
Okay, let us look at the real world. Think about a season when money is tight. The economy feels shaky and companies are cutting budgets. People start quietly worrying about losing their jobs. When that happens, that heavy, scary atmosphere gets right into your body.
Right, the stress is real. Yes, you do not just sit there with perfect internal peace. You start trying so hard to be extra available. You answer emails at 10 o'clock at night. You say yes to every project. Why? Because you think if you just make yourself necessary enough, you can protect your job. Your job becomes proof that you matter. You cannot just separate your inner worth from your external survival when you literally need to pay rent.
That is a very fair point about survival. Trying to keep your job during a tough economy is highly practical. I am not denying that. But there is a massive difference between working hard to keep a paycheck and believing your job title is your actual value as a human being. Tying your right to exist to your daily productivity is exactly how that foundation cracks.
But how do you separate them when you are terrified of losing everything?
Threats. If your boss sends a vague message saying, "Can we talk later?" a person with self-worth thinks, "Okay, we have a meeting later." But a person who ties their worth to their job thinks, "I am going to be fired. I am worthless. I have ruined my life." Any uncertainty feels like a personal attack.
Of course it feels like an attack because we want to be chosen and accepted, whether it is at work or in friendships. That drive to belong is incredibly strong. It is so strong that we end up doing whatever it takes to keep the peace and stay in the group.
Exactly. Whatever it takes. And what does whatever it takes usually look like? It translates directly to the daily habits that quietly destroy our peace. Because we want to be accepted so badly, we start doing things that slowly damage our self-worth over time. And the biggest, most common habit is people-pleasing.
Oh, the classic trap. We all do it.
Yes, but think about how it actually feels. People-pleasing is acting like a one-person emotional customer service desk.
A one-person emotional customer service desk. Wow, that is painfully accurate.
It really is. You laugh at jokes that are not funny. You agree with opinions you do not actually believe. You take the blame for mistakes you did not make. You try to smooth everything over to make sure everyone else in the room is perfectly comfortable.
Right, you just manage everyone.
Exactly. You act like everybody else's comfort is your full-time job, which legally it is not. But when you are a people pleaser, it feels completely obligatory.
Wait, that is a fancy word, obligatory. It basically just means it feels required, like you absolutely have to do it or something terrible will happen.
Right. It feels required. You think that resting is selfish. You think that saying no to a request is rude. And slowly, day by day, you teach your brain a terrible lesson. You teach yourself, my needs always come second.
I agree that being the emotional customer service desk is exhausting. But let me tell you exactly why we do it. It is not because we enjoy it. We do it because of constant self-doubt. When your self-worth is low, you are always checking yourself. After a normal conversation, your brain becomes a very rude little customer feedback form.
Oh, I know this feeling well.
You walk away from a party and your brain immediately prints out a receipt. It says, 1 star, you are too emotional, you talk too much, you made too much eye contact, very annoying overall. You doubt every choice you just made. And this actually proves my point. We are inherently social creatures. We are terrified of losing our relationships. We are so scared of being pushed out of the group that we tolerate terrible things.
We certainly do.
We let disrespect go way too far. We let people get away with speaking carelessly to us. Why? Because losing the relationship feels much scarier than losing our own internal peace. We choose the pain of people-pleasing because the pain of being alone feels like death to our nervous system.
And that is exactly why depending on the outside world is a failing strategy. I am not saying it is easy to stop, but look at the cost. Every time you ignore your own discomfort to keep someone else happy, a small part of you notices. You lose trust in yourself. You train yourself to look outside for permission to feel okay. If you constantly rely on other people to tell you that you are good, your peace will never, ever feel stable.
I am not arguing that it is peaceful. I am arguing that it is reality. But okay, let us look at the solutions. If these habits, like people-pleasing and tying our worth to our jobs, slowly damage us, how do we actually fix the foundation? And how do we do it in the real world without pretending we are robots who do not care what anyone thinks?
We rebuild the foundation through very small, very unglamorous internal actions. You do not fix it by suddenly shouting at everyone and demanding respect. Habit number 1 for rebuilding self-worth: keep small promises to yourself.
Small promises. That sounds very simple. Give me an example of how that works.
It is incredibly powerful because it builds self-trust. If you tell yourself you are going to rest on Saturday, you actually rest. You do not open your laptop. If you say you will stop replying to work messages at midnight, you turn off the phone. And please, stop writing long emotional text messages at 12:14 a.m. to people who are clearly not listening to you.
Okay, wow, that felt extremely personal. I think we have all been there.
It is universal. But think about the psychology of it. When you finish a small promise to yourself, you send a direct message to your brain. You say, I listen to me, I protect me, I matter too. It proves that you are a safe person for yourself. Another huge step in rebuilding self-worth is to stop over-explaining your choices.
Stop over-explaining? Why is that so important?
Because over-explaining is a control tactic. When you over-explain why you cannot attend a dinner party or why you are doing a project a certain way, you are trying to control the other person's reaction. You want your decision to sound perfect so they will not be mad at you. You are begging for their approval. You have to stop doing that. You have to just say no, thank you, and let the discomfort happen.
Letting discomfort happen sounds great in a psychology book. But in the real world, it is a massive risk. If I stop over-explaining and I just let my boss be disappointed, I do not just feel uncomfortable, I might lose my promotion. You're asking people to risk their livelihoods and their friendships for the sake of feeling good inside.
I am not saying you should be rude to your boss. I am saying you need to stop acting like someone else's disappointment is the end of the world. Someone being disappointed in you is uncomfortable. Someone misunderstanding your choice is uncomfortable. But uncomfortable does not automatically mean unsafe. You have to let the moment breathe. Instead of panicking and trying to fix their feelings, you have to speak to yourself with more dignity. Less, what is wrong with me? How do I fix this? And more, what do I need right now to feel steady?
I will admit that is a very strong approach. It is extremely annoying but excellent advice. But we have to acknowledge the social cost of this. When you start doing this, when you start setting boundaries and protecting your peace, people in your life will be taken aback.
Wait, that is a fancy phrase. Taken aback. It basically just means they will feel surprised, maybe even a little shocked and confused by your behavior.
Yes, they will be very surprised because they miss the old version of you. They miss the endlessly available version. They miss the sweet on the outside but completely exhausted on the inside version. When you stop being the emotional customer service desk, people will react. Some people might even walk away. Their opinions of you will shift.
They will shift. And that is the hardest part of the process.
But I will concede this much to you. Taking your self-worth and moving it into every single opinion that comes your way, well, that is a chaotic housing strategy.
A chaotic housing strategy. I love that metaphor. Explain that.
Well, people's opinions will always come and go.
One day your boss gives you 5 stars, the next day you make a mistake and you get 1 star. One friend loves you today, and tomorrow they are completely annoyed with you. If your self-worth packs its bags and moves into every new opinion, you have a very unstable address. You are constantly moving from house to house, depending on who likes you that day.
Which perfectly illustrates the core of my argument. The real truth about self-worth is that it is not built by making sure every single person in the room approves of you. It is built quietly. It is built by staying on your own side, especially when things go wrong. When someone is disappointed in you, when you feel awkward, when you fail a little bit at work, that is exactly when you have to stay connected to yourself. If your self-worth only shows up on sunny days when everyone is clapping for you, your foundation is not strong enough yet.
And my final thought on the matter is this. The goal is not to stop caring completely. We are human beings, not robots. Social approval will always feel nice. A warm smile will always feel good to our nervous systems. The goal is to care without collapsing. You can want people to like you, but you cannot let their reaction be your only source of gravity. We just need an internal address that is steadier than the shifting winds of the outside world.
I think we have reached a beautiful point of agreement there. We might disagree on exactly how much our biology forces us to seek approval, but we completely agree that our internal foundation has to be stronger than a stranger's opinion.
Absolutely. You have to be able to survive the storm.
Sometimes the best way to understand these big psychological concepts is to look at the exact words we use to describe them. Let us do a calm, quick little walk through the vocabulary. No hiking boots required. Here is our word tour.
I think that is a great idea. Looking back at our debate, I keep thinking about how exhausting it is to constantly seek approval. Over time, living like that really takes a toll on you.
It really does. That is such an important phrase. When something takes a toll on you, it means it slowly drains your energy or damages you little by little. It is not one big explosion, it is the slow leak of water that ruins the floor. Constantly worrying about what people think takes a massive toll on your physical and mental health. Send an email, and then you spend an hour wondering if you used too many exclamation points. You look back and question your own judgment, which just creates more anxiety.
And because we feel so anxious and we do not trust our own choices, we need a safety net. So we fall back on old habits.
Yes, we fall back on things. To fall back on something means you depend on it when you feel unstable or scared. Instead of sitting with the discomfort, you fall back on people-pleasing. You fall back on apologizing when you did nothing wrong. It is your automatic emergency response.
And why is it so automatic? Because that need for safety and social approval is deeply biological. It is incredibly deep-rooted.
Deep-rooted, such a great descriptive word. Like a tree with roots going far into the earth, something deep-rooted is fixed firmly inside you. It has been there a long time. These fears of rejection are deep-rooted in our history and our childhoods, which makes them very hard to pull out.
Hard to pull out, but not impossible. Which brings us to the solution we discussed. You can slowly change this if you actually carry through with your promises.
That is the key right there. To carry through means to actually finish what you started. You do not just make a promise and drop it halfway. If you say you are going to protect your peace, you carry through by actually turning off your phone. You finish the action. That is how you rebuild the foundation.
Take a toll on, second-guess yourself, fall back on, deep-rooted, and carry through. It is funny how those 5 phrases perfectly describe the entire journey from losing your self-worth to building it back up.
They really do. Language maps out our emotional experiences perfectly. This has been a deeply fascinating discussion today. It is not easy to change how we view ourselves, and it goes against some very strong instincts, but it is always worth the effort. There is so much more to explore in this material, and we encourage you to keep examining your own foundations. Thank you for joining our intellectual exchange today.
It has been an absolute pleasure to explore this with you.
As you go through your week, remember that feeling of waiting for a text message. The next time you find your whole emotional system holding a panicked emergency meeting over 3 little dots on a screen, pause, take a breath, and ask yourself, who is really in charge of your worth right now? Have a wonderful day.